Welcome to Buffzone.com. My name is Kyle Ringo. I'm the CU beat writer for the Daily Camera newspaper. Joining us this week on the Pearl Street Mall is veteran Daily Camera sports columnist Neil Woelk. If you've been watching the show this year, you'll know that Neil has been the ultimate optimist when it comes to the Colorado football team. Last week, he predicted the Buffs would go down to Oklahoma and win. He said that the Buffs would reel off a series of victories to end the season, go to the Big 12 championship game, win it, and play in a BCS bowl game, if you could believe it. Neil, I think, is finally ready to embrace just how wrong he's been.
There's a little sense of reality that came into play after they played at Oklahoma last week, Kyle. Certainly the Buff offense has a little work to do, and I'm going to have to give up on that BCS dream, at least for this year. But I think there's still something for this team to play for. I think this team has a lot of things, a lot of work left to do, and a lot of positives it can still attain, but it's not going to be, as Dan Hawkins said, it's not going to be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow type of thing. It's going to be a continued goal of getting better and improving.
So, Neil, basically what we're talking about today is the Buffs are now in a position where they're playing for pride. And outside of beating Nebraska, they really can't attain any more of their preseason goals. What do you think the Buffs need to set as their goals for these last 4 games?
I think they have to set the same goal that they've set all year long, and that's continue to get better every week. They have to continue to get better on defense, continue to get better on offense, and especially at the quarterback position, at the wide receiver spot, and in the running game. The whole offense has to get better. And I think if they can continue to improve, and if you look at this, the seniors are playing for pride. The seniors are playing for something that they can remember as their last season. And beating Nebraska at the end of the year would be a great way to do that. But the younger kids on this team are already playing for next year. They're playing for a spot on the team next year. They're playing to improve, and they're playing for a chance to go into spring ball with some momentum at their position and a chance to prove to the coaches that they deserve to be the starters. So I think this is still a very important stretch for the Colorado Buffaloes.
You mentioned Bernard Jackson, and last week at Oklahoma, Bernard in the passing game was shockingly ineffective. They completed 3 of 14 passes. You can't put that all on Bernard. I mean, obviously, there's 10 other guys on the field with him, and everybody's got to do their job to throw the ball. That's what Dusty Sprague, one of the wide receivers, said after the game. The wide receivers, some of them were getting open occasionally, but Bernard didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball either. But what does Bernard have to do to become effective in the passing game? They've recruited now a junior college quarterback who will be here in the spring for spring football. They have another true freshman in. Obviously, next year they're going to have Cody Hawkins in his 2nd season in the program. Bernard's kind of playing these last 4 games to prove that he's going to go into spring and next summer as the quarterback to beat out.
Yeah, he's got to take these last 4 games. He's got to become a quarterback. Right now, he's been a very good athlete playing the quarterback position. He hasn't had a lot of experience doing it. Obviously, he's having trouble reading defenses still. And Bob Stoops' game plan, for Oklahoma's game plan for Bernard Jackson was terrific. They ran that zone blitz all day long. All they did was they knew what Bernard Jackson liked to do. He liked to roll out, throw to his tight end, throw to the receiver on the same side of the field. What they did is they went into some easy coverage on that type of thing, and they zone blitzed him all day long. Bernard had no idea how to deal with that. What Bernard has is 4 games left to prove that he should be the incumbent going into next spring. And I don't think that's a given by any means. I mean, he's been the starter this year. He will probably be the starter the rest of the last 4 games. But that by no means means that he will be the clear number 1 going into spring ball next year, especially with the JUCO coming in. So I think he has 4 games left to prove that he should be the incumbent starter. That means 4 games to prove that he can throw the ball, 4 games to prove that he can read defenses, and 4 games to prove that he can be consistent in that offense, which he hasn't done all year. Consistency's been a huge problem.
In college football, you don't get rewarded for being a nice guy. You don't get rewarded for being a stand-up guy. But we should mention that's exactly what Bernard has been. I mean, he came out after the game and put the blame for the loss on himself. And this kid, he's a father. He has a 1-year-old young boy. He's dealing with a lot, in terms of being a father, being the starting quarterback, being a student athlete at CU. And I think he's handled himself well despite the turmoil of, you know, what has become one of the worst seasons in recent memory at CU.
You don't get rewarded for being a stand-up guy, but you do get rewarded for being a leader, and I think Bernard Jackson has been a great leader for this team this year. People could complain about his passing game and all those kind of things, and yes, he's got a lot of improvement there left to do, and he may not be the starter next year if he doesn't improve. But one thing he has been, Kyle, he's been a leader. He has stepped into this program and he has taken the blame. He has stood up every game, win or lose, and said, look, I need to get better. He hasn't placed blame on any of his other players. He's been, you know, extremely hardworking type of guy, and that's a leader. That's a guy that the other players on the team look at. They see him going in and looking at film, and they say this is what they should be doing. And so I think he set a great example for this team, win or lose in that regard. So I think when you talk about the intangibles, Bernard Jackson has some of those things.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right. Well, Kansas next week. The Fighting Manginos tune in, and we'll be talking about the Kansas Jayhawks.